Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar, which is getting the most out of Microsoft Teams. We are still getting people joining the webinar, but we'll get started so that we don't overrun on the time. So thanks for joining. Thanks to all of you who are key workers and carrying out such an amazing role during this current situation that we're all experiencing. We can't thank you enough, and this is our way from Escala and Premier IT to give a little bit of something back to you. So hope that you enjoy this session. So first of all, my name is Lisa. I'm an Office 365 specialist trainer working for Escala / Premier IT. As I've said, we're delivering these webinars free, but what we are asking is that if any of you would like to make a donation to our current chosen charity, which is the Royal Hospital of Neuro Disability, then the link is on the slide there, and you will be getting a copy of these slides after the event closes, so you'll be able to get a note of that link there. Just before we actually get into the webinar, I'm going to go through a few housekeeping points. So first of all, we are using GoToMeeting here for this webinar session, and what you'll find is over on the right hand side of the screen you do have the GoTo panel, and on that GoTo panel there is a questions section. You will be able to put any questions that you have as we go through the webinar into there and post them. And what I'll do is I'll keep a check on those questions as they come through, but we'll probably leave most of them until the end, and at the end of the session we'll go through a bit of a questions and answers there to if anybody has posted anything. So just see where it is, and if you want to use it then post your questions into there. As we've got a high volume of callers, your microphones will be muted throughout the conference to avoid any interference or disruption. But if you do want to actually speak, you can raise your hand in the webinar. Again, it's over there on the GoTo panel, and I can unmute you at that point if you wish to ask your question out loud. The webinar is being recorded today and will be available again after the session. We'll be sending that out to you. We are running a poll during this webinar, just one poll at the beginning really, so please just contribute into that. It'll come up on your screen when I launch it with you. At the end of the webinar, it's helpful if you could spare a minute to fill in the feedback survey questions that will be sent out to you. It's always good for us to get feedback to find out what you liked about the session, what you didn't like, so that we can constantly seek to improve it for future courses. And finally, there is a guide to Microsoft Teams, which will be again sent out to you on email after the session. Now, just finishing with the GoTo panel on the right-hand side, you'll notice that there is an orange arrow icon on it. And if that panel is sort of taking over the screen a little bit, you can click on that arrow and it will minimize itself over to the right. And you can bring it back out again by clicking on the arrow again. What you might want to do if you want to be able to add questions is before you minimize the panel to the right, get the questions and undock it from the panel. And by undocking it, I mean click on the heading where it says questions, and you can drag it around into another area of the screen, and then you can minimize your full panel. So you've still got the questions available on the screen if you want them. Okay. So just looking now at the content of this session, so it is just an overview of Microsoft Teams, really to get you kind of up and running with using Microsoft Teams. And I would imagine that during the session you should pick up a few hints and tips on its use. So we do offer full further training in more depth on Teams should you wish to know more. So you can always put a question in if you want to know more about Teams, put that in and we can get back to you after the session with more information on that. But what we're going to be looking at today is, first off, the benefits of Microsoft Teams. We'll be looking at the best practice around structuring teams and channels, etc., within Teams, how to encourage maybe other people to use Teams, get the most from online meetings and using Planner within Teams, looking at desktop sharing, so sharing files with other people and collaborating together on files at the same time, video streaming through Teams, and then the main integrations that you can add on to your Teams websites, your Teams dashboards, and the lesser known features of Teams. And then, as I said, at the end, we will go to some questions. So what I'm just going to do first off here is I'm going to launch a poll with you just to get a bit more of an understanding of what your current level of knowledge of Teams is. So you should be able to see that coming up now on your screen. And if you just want to select your knowledge and then select submit to submit it. So I'll just give you a couple of seconds to fill that in. So Will, just noticing there that Will has said he can't see the poll, you should be able to see over in your go-to panel on the right-hand side. If you've minimized that, it might just have gone, but it should have appeared actually fully on your screen. It should have appeared for you easily to be able to see it. So if it hasn't, I'm not sure why that would have happened. Oh, you've got it now. Okay, great. It should be working okay for those of you that are saying you can see it but you can't click, because I am getting some responses through, so it's obviously working for most people. But anyway, it doesn't matter so much. To be honest, I can get a fair opinion from what we've got so far. So I'm just going to share what we've had through on that one. So you can see that we are middle-ish on little knowledge, fair knowledge, around about, well, most of you actually are little knowledge, fair knowledge. So that's fair enough. Okay. Interestingly, something I was reading the other day about Microsoft Teams is that they were saying that at the end of 2019, so the end of last year, 8 to 9 million people a day were using Teams, which already sounds like quite a lot. But apparently, and that's worldwide, apparently in April 2020, that's increased to 75 million people a day. So from 8 to 9 million to 75 million people. So that shows how much we are rapidly moving into using these online collaboration spaces as a result of obviously the current situation. So good that you're getting yourself used to using it, because I think it is going to become quite widely used. Okay, so we should be back to my screen again now. So just looking quickly at some of the benefits of Microsoft Teams. So the situation that you could have been in before you started using Microsoft Teams, and you might still be in that situation now if you've not really started adopting it within your organization, is you'll have groups of people who are perhaps working together on a project or on a particular task or just on a team working together. And they're often sending emails back and forth between each other, and there's long email trails going on. You might be using a little bit of instant messaging if you do have other instant messaging applications available to you. You'll be holding meetings that you've scheduled in calendar, using maybe a different conferencing system to run those meetings. Somebody might take the meeting minutes and then distribute those out via email to you, and you then save those into your own location ready to update for next time. You might have some files that you've saved that everybody needs to be able to access, so they've been saved into some sort of shared location. It could be then that you have some relevant other pages, other documents that everybody needs to see, other websites that everybody needs to see. And it also might be that you have new members that come along that join that project or join that team, and they have to be given access to the files and brought up to date with what's gone on so far. That sort of situation is where Microsoft Teams comes into its own, because it's one of the biggest benefits really of Microsoft Teams. It's very much a hub for all your project workspace information. It integrates instant messaging with online meetings, with desktop applications. It enables you to be more productive, to have quick conversations with colleagues to get answers so that you can then focus on your work. And it also provides increased transparency, as everyone that is a member of the team can see all the conversations that are going on about that particular project, and can view all the files that they need to be able to view, and can join any relevant meetings if they want to join them. Any new members to a team can be directed towards the Teams channel, and they can view all those conversations that have already taken place. They can also listen into any meetings that have already happened that were recorded, so they can go and listen to those. And you don't have to then spend time updating those new members with what's already gone on in the past. So very, very many benefits, Microsoft Teams. And as we've also got on there, it integrates with other third-party tools into your channels, and it allows for this seamless move into a digital workspace. So we'll see a lot of these things as we go through the demonstration today, and that's where I'm going to go now. So I'm just going to take us into my Teams here. So I'm using a test user here, just because obviously don't want to use my own Teams account. So I'm actually logged on as Bob Smithson today. So we're going to be using him as the test account person. So this is what Teams looks like if you log in from a browser version of Teams. Teams is available as a full desktop app or as a browser app. You can get it on your phones, you can get it on an iPad. So it's available on lots of different devices. It is a fairly new collaboration tool, and one thing I would say is that it is ever changing. So it's constantly being improved and updated with new features. Customer feedback is taken into account by Microsoft, and they do make improvements based on those customer suggestions. So if you ever think, oh, I wonder if it's going to, can it do this? Oh no, it can't. It's worth looking on the Microsoft websites, because they are constantly bringing in new features to Microsoft Teams. So just looking at the screen to begin with, over on the left-hand side of the screen, we have the navigation pane. And we can see up at the top of here, we have activity. So this is where you'll get all notifications, a little bit like other systems, social media type systems that you might use, where you're notified if there is any new activity that's relevant to you. So that's all available in activity. Underneath there, we have chat. So this is where you might want to just have a one-to-one chat with a colleague or another person in the organization that might not actually be in a team with you, or you just want to have a separate offline conversation with somebody. This is very similar to Skype, or you might use other instant messaging systems. It's very similar there, just a one-to-one. And you can also have phone calls from there if you have that capability within Teams. Underneath there, we have Teams, which is our main hub, and that's what we'll be looking at mainly today. So I'll come back to that in a minute. Then we've got Calendar. So this is where you might schedule meetings with people from Calendar, and it does integrate with your calendar application that you use. We've got calls. So this is if you do have external calling capability within Teams, or calling capability, you would go there to do that. And then we've also got files. So files is all the files that you have got access to that have been stored within Teams, and they are listed within your files area. To the right of the navigation bar then, because I've got teams selected, it's now showing me here all the teams that I am a member of. And underneath each of those team names, there are channels. So we've got the team names of Live Escala, HR Task Force, Project X, Green Space. And then underneath each of those, there may be channels. So general, management, meeting, resourcing are all channels within the team. We'll look at what we mean by teams and channels when I start creating a new one. You can minimize the channels. As you can see here, this one has been minimized, so I can just click the little arrow to open that up to see them, because if you do get a lot of teams on here, you might want to do that. So I can minimize teams down. And what I can also do is I can hide a team. So you see here, I've got some hidden teams. And if I click on the arrow to the left there, it shows me those hidden teams. The three little dots to the right-hand side of any of your teams will give you lots of options, but one of them is to show it if you've hidden it and to hide it if you currently have it on show. So we can just select that there to add it into the rest so it's on display. So if you end up in lots of different teams and some of them are not currently current, you can always hide them when they're not needed. In the center of the screen is where you would have your conversations. It's where you would upload your files relevant to the particular team channel that you have currently got selected. So we'll be looking at putting things into there in a minute. Just over on the far right side of the screen, you do have your little profile there and your initials or a profile picture if you've uploaded one. If I click on that icon at the top right there, this is where you can set your status. So just like you can with other instant messaging applications, you can set your status to being available or put yourself into do not disturb if you're busy doing a task. You can also add a little status message in there. So if you just wanted to say, I'm out of the office today or I'm working from home today, you can set a status message so that people know. Saved, we'll see later how you can save messages, and this is where they would go. And then settings is quite useful. If I just have a click on that one, if you haven't been into this already on your own accounts, it might be worth you having a look, because this is where you can customize it to your own requirements. You have got the language in there, but also in privacy, you can choose about you do not disturb. You can also choose whether you want people to be able to read receipts or not when you show that you have read their messages. And it's also got notifications. You may find in Teams that you are getting lots of emails coming through whenever anybody does anything within one of your teams, and you might not want that. So you can customize these options to just choose to see the banner or to turn it off altogether. The banner, by the way, is just where you'll see a little purple button, a purple rectangle comes up at the bottom right corner. It's an alert that comes up in the bottom right to tell you something's happened in Teams. So you can customize all loads of settings in there that you can change. So that's in your settings area over there on the right hand side. We've got the search bar across the top that we'll use later to search for something within Teams that you want to particularly home in on and find information. What I'm going to show you before we go any further is an existing team that's up and running with some information in it. So this HR Task Force general channel is one that I've just been building with bits of information in, communicating, chatting with other people so that you can see what a working channel kind of looks like. So this one here, up at the top, you've got several tabs across the top that have been added into this channel. To begin with, what you'll get in a brand new channel is just the posts, files, and wiki. They come in by default. Posts is where you'll have all your conversations. So as we look in here, we can see different activities that have gone on within this channel already. And as we scroll up, you can see how you can go back in time. So this is where I was saying that new people will be able to come along, new members to the team, to go back and have a look at what's already been said in this particular channel. You can also see on here if people have had meetings. So there's been a meeting that occurred here, and this is where you could go and actually listen to the meeting recording. So if you've missed that meeting because you were just busy at the time, or it was a day that you didn't work, then you could come back and listen to what was said in that meeting if you needed to, if it was relevant to you. It's also quite good that for people who work in different time zones, so they may have to come back to it later when they're available and they're in work. So those are your posts. Come back and look at files. So files across the top here is for any files that have been uploaded into this particular channel that are relevant to this particular channel. So other people may have uploaded files into here, or you might have uploaded files into here yourself, and you can always go now and open any of those files up. So those are all stored within this channel, and other people can open those up and collaborate with you on those files. They can upload files into here, as we can see as well. We've always got the wiki tab. The wiki tab is a little bit like a notepad in your Teams channel, so you can use this to add in whatever information you want about your particular team. You might just use this for team information. You could post instructions into here. There might be policies or procedures that people need to adhere to that you want to put into here. Anything that you want team members to have access to. It can constantly be added to, it can be edited. So you see in here, I've just put in some contact numbers and some abbreviations, but you could use it for anything you want. It's very much like a little notepad. And again, useful for new people joining the team. You might just refer them to there and say, well, have a look at the wiki tab. What else then in here that's been added? So these are ones that you wouldn't get by default. I've added these in. So for example, this is just a website. So if it was a useful website that you thought people needed access to constantly, then you can just add it in and it becomes a tab at the top there in the workspace. So any useful websites can be added in. This one here is a useful document that we might use regularly in this team, this channel. So we're always referring to that particular document. So we've just added that in there at the top so that it's easily accessible by everybody, and it can be edited if they wanted to using the editing button there. Event plan. So this is a planner. Microsoft Planner is one of the Office 365 applications, and we can use this to just create little task plans for people. You can put in tasks for yourself, or you might be allocating tasks out to other people. They would all be able to access it from within this channel, and they'd all be able to update their own tasks as they were working on them. So everybody has visibility of that plan. Everybody can see where people are up to, and if one person has completed all their tasks, they could go and say, oh, Wendy, do you need a bit of help? I can help you out on that one because I'm not as busy as you, and everybody can see. That's the good thing about one of the benefits of Teams is its visibility. And then finally, across the top here, we've got a Power BI report. And I'm going to come back and talk about Power BI a little bit later, but we can add in things like that. It's just another application that can be added into Microsoft Teams. So as I say, that's just an example of a team that's in use, one that's got a bit of information in there. Just while we're looking at the teams to begin with, the three dots to the right, I've showed you already, has got the options of show and hide. It also has the option of manage team. So if I select that manage team option, it will show us who is already a member of this team. So I'm currently the owner on this team, and if I just open up and expand members and guests, we can see that Dave Field and Wendy are both members of the team. Normally, what I would suggest you do is have more than one owner of a team. If it's quite a large team, it's best to have somebody else there just as backup in case you are off for any reason. So it's always worth having a couple of people as owners, and then the rest would be members in there. So that's, if I wanted to at this point now, I could add another member. Okay, and that's all done from Manage Team there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have a look at creating a brand new team. Now, one thing I would just say here is that some organisations don't let their staff actually create new teams. IT limit that and wait for people to put requests in for a new team, rather than letting people just create teams all over the place, and you'd end up with lots of teams and it's a little bit out of control. So it's often done by request only, and then often IT create the team for you, and then you can build the channels underneath that team. So that can be a good way, I would say, of actually doing it. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to choose to create a new team. So at the bottom left corner of the screen, join or create a team. I'll start with here. I'm going to choose create team. And I've got two options there: to build a team from scratch or create one from an existing team. I'm going to choose to just build a team from scratch here. We've got three options of what type of team we want to create. So a private one means that people need permission to join. So me as the owner would have to actually grant permission for somebody to join the team. I can have a public team, which means anybody in the organisation can join it if they wish, and an organisation wide, which means everybody in the organisation is automatically joined into that team. So that would normally again be done by IT or higher levels in the company. So I'm just going to do a private one. You give your team a name. So I'm going to call this Digital Leadership, just as a name for the team there. You can put in a description, and it's handy to do that normally so that people know what this team is actually all about. I'm going to leave that blank though, and I'm just going to choose create. So it's now created the team for me, and it's now saying, okay, do you want to add members into this team at this point? If at this point you don't know who you want to have as members of the team, you can just skip this step altogether, but you might already know and you might want to add people in. The other thing you can do here is you can add people in and just add in a couple of people whilst you may be building this team and creating and adding information into it, and then you can come back to it later and add more members once it's actually up and running. So I'll just add a couple of people. I've only got 3 people in my little test organisation, so same people all the time. I'm going to add those 2 people's names in. One thing you might want to do is adding guest members to a team. So these might be people who aren't actually in your organisation. Now that's possible. You can add guest members, but that has to be allowed again by your organisation. So your organisation will give the permissions as to whether that can happen or not. And if you want to add in guest members to your team, they have to have an account like an Outlook account, a Gmail account, or there are others that they can use as well, but you would need to type in the full email address and it would then invite them to join this team. I'm just going to add those 2 in here, and they're automatically given member status. But if I wanted to at this point, I could select the drop down and I could make Wendy an owner as well as myself, and then close. So it's now created me a new team, and you can see over here on the left hand side called Digital Leadership, and it automatically creates a new channel called General. All teams have a general channel. If at this point now I want to create more channels, then I can do it from this screen here. So first screen on view allows me to create more channels, and if at this point I want to add more people, I can do that here now as well. I'll just show you create more channels. So with a channel there, I would give it a channel name. And again, it's always worth selecting something that is relevant. What I would say with channels is you're kind of using these to organize activities by the topic within the team, an area, something that you are going to be working on. They're used to keep conversations and files organized within a sort of thread, really. It's confusing if you have somebody who's posting questions about one topic in a channel that's about something totally different. So it's best to have them all sort of channeled off into different areas. So I'm just going to create one here. I don't know, just call it logistics. And again, you can put a description in if you want to. By default, channels are standard privacy, accessible to everyone who's actually a member of the team. Now, this is a new feature that's only fairly new to Teams, in that they do now allow you to have private channels. So you might have a team that has sort of 20, 30 people inside as members, but you might want to create a channel which is just private to a few members of that team. And you can now do that. You didn't used to be able to do that. I'm going to leave this as standard and add. So you can now see that we have a logistics channel inside there. If you have created a channel, as a private one, it would have the little padlock on it to the side there. And the 3 dots button will allow you to add members to that if they weren't members currently. So we've now created a new channel. One thing I would say is try to avoid creating too many teams with the same members inside them. Create them relevant to, as I say, a new project that you're going to be working on, a new team that you're going to be working on, and remove them once they're no longer needed, archive them once they're no longer needed, or hide them from view. Otherwise, it will get confusing over there on the left-hand side. So in our logistics section here now, this channel, we can start conversations off. So it says, let's get the conversation started. So in the area at the bottom of the screen, this is where we can have our conversations. So this is where we can start our chats about the logistics that we're talking about here. Everybody who is a member of this team will be able to see these chats. So if I just put in there, hi everyone, just to start that off, and you just press enter to post your message, everybody will be able to see that, and everybody will be able to reply to it, contribute to it. One other thing we can do in here, as it says there, is use @mentions. So if there's somebody who you particularly want to point something out to, you can use the @mention button, which is type an @ before you put their name. So if I just do @mention, select Dave's name from the list, and then just say, can you update this channel? I don't know, anything like that, and then just post it. And they will get a specific notification to tell them that you have mentioned them in this channel. And if they've got it switched on, they will also get an email to say that they have been mentioned in this channel. So they're not going to miss it, really. Anything that goes into here, people can like your messages. So we can see there that Dave has just reacted to one of my messages because he's just liked this particular one. And it's just like all your other social media type things, you can like messages. So I could do that with any messages that are posted to me. If I just get Dave to reply so that you can see what a reply looks like. So again, I'm getting notified that they've replied to a conversation. So these are your banners. So this is things that you might want to actually remove if they do become a little bit annoying whenever anybody mentions you or replies. So you can see their replies are indented in a little bit. One other thing I would say here is avoid starting new conversations if it's related to an existing conversation. So keep it within that thread, keep it all within this same thread and reply back inside there, and only start a new conversation when it's a new topic that you're now dealing with. So Dave has now replied there, and I could like it. So as you hover over any of these, you can like these messages. You can also add in any of these little emoticons to the message if you wish. If there's anything particularly useful that somebody posts, you can use the 3 dots button to save a message. So if somebody posts into a channel with a whole load of really good information that you think, I'm going to need that and I'm going to keep needing to refer to it, then save it. Use the 3 dots and save this message. As these channels conversations start to evolve and you get lots of people posting into them, you'd be scrolling maybe for ages to find that really important piece of information that you needed. If you've saved it, you'll be able to get back to it very, very quickly. And I will show you later how we get back to those saved messages. So it's worth saving anything that you think is really useful. Just a quick, I've seen a quick question that I know I can answer really quickly, and that's, can I switch the status of a channel from public to private after I have created a channel? Unfortunately, Conrad, no, you can't. That's something that when they first created these private channels, I was looking at and thought, could you do it the other way as well? Because you might start a channel off as being private and you want it then to be public once you've got it up and running. But no, I'm afraid you can't. They're either one way or the other. You'd have to create a new one to make it go from public to private. But that's something that might evolve again. Private channels, as I say, is quite a new feature of Teams. So it might be something that if people keep asking for it, they will bring it in. So if you want it, post it on their page and they might do it eventually. Okay, so yes, so that's just your general sort of chit chat that you'll go, normal things, replying and so on. Again, just at the bottom of here, if we go in to start a new conversation, you do have the option to select this format button on your conversations, which means you can make your conversation a little bit more formal. So you can add a subject to it. If it's something that you really want to stand out in the channel, you might want to add a subject. You can also, from the drop down here, choose an announcement as well as it just being a conversation. So an announcement's got a really big headline. So we could just put in something like welcome to this channel in there. And then we can add in subheadings. You are all involved. I don't know, I'm just making this up, as you can tell. And then you can put in your information in there that you might have available. You've got things like being able to select text and use your formatting options as well. So bold and underline, if that was going to work. It didn't work very well there. On your text, it doesn't seem to want to underline that piece of text, but normally that would be working. And a few other options. You can also make things important, mark them as important, so that again they stand out, and we'll see how that looks when we post it. So I'm now just going to post. So in this case, the send option, now that we've got that set up to post it. And we can see that that has now posted into the channel. And when you look at that, it does stand out, obviously. It's much bigger. It's also got the important message on it. So again, if people are posting lots and lots of comments in here and you want something to really stand out, that will stand out when somebody's scrolling up and down within a channel. Also, what you have at the bottom of the screen here, we'll come back to files. You've got things like your normal emojis that you can add in. You can also add in GIFs, and you can also add in stickers to your messages. So, you know, people can say, well, what's this all about? It's supposed to be a business situation, but, you know, everybody's allowed a little bit of fun, and you will find that when you first start using Teams, that everybody will be going full out on your stickers and emojis, I am quite sure. So it's always a bit of fun to use things like that. Okay, just with messages that you have posted yourself, if you go back to the three dots at the top right hand corner, you can edit a message if you have posted it yourself. You can also delete a message if you have posted it yourself. Other people will see it saying this message has been deleted or this message was deleted. They won't be able to see the message, but they will see that. Again, just like you do in things like WhatsApp, same sort of idea. Okay. Continuing within our conversations, we do have the option as well in here to use this thing called Meet Now. Meet Now is a little bit like having an ad hoc meeting, spur of the moment meeting. Maybe you just in the corridor and you bump into somebody. So because at the moment a lot of us are working from home, we're not in the office, so we can't have those spur of the moment coffee machine type meetings. This Meet Now is kind of the idea. So we can just click on the Meet Now button and it will start creating a meeting. I'm going to turn off my webcam there. We can choose to add a subject to that meeting, and that is worth doing actually in this case, because this will post itself into the channel as the fact that this meeting is taking place. So if somebody just happens to spot it and they'll see its subject, they might think, oh yeah, I'm interested in that, I'm going to join that meeting as well. Whereas others might see it and think, oh, it doesn't matter to me, that one, I'm not involved, so they won't join it. So if I just call it team meeting, but as I say, any subject in there, and then we can just choose Meet Now, and that will now start a meeting up. Just going to mute it as well. Start a meeting up inside that channel. And as I say, if other people spot it's running, then they will be able to just join it. But if they don't spot it is running, over on the right hand side of the screen, you can see people that are able to join it because they are members of the team. So I can select their 3 dots and I can choose to ask them to join. What would normally have happened here is that you would have been having a conversation, Bob and Dave having a conversation, and they both say, shall we just chat? Will it be easy to just chat? You've got a headset plugged in, let's just have a chat about this. So they'll just start an ad hoc meeting and they're both now in conversation. You can have your webcams switched on so you can both see each other and you can just have that quick conversation that you might need. It'll be quicker than you continuing using instant messaging. We could add in Wendy as well. And what we can also do is we could invite somebody else into this if we wish. So we could invite somebody else into the call. Now that we're in this call, we do have all your normal Teams options. So you can see along the bottom of the screen, we can turn the camera on, we can unmute. I've currently got mine muted, but we can mute. You can share screen with each other. So you could use the button there to share the screen, and it would ask what it is that you want to share, and you could choose to do that from there. You can, from the 3 dots button, you could record this meeting. So if I choose to start recording, we'll see what that looks like when we finish. It will tell everybody else on the call that the meeting is being recorded, so they will all know. Doesn't matter who started this meeting off, anybody can start the recording. So if somebody else like Dave wanted to start the recording from his screen, he can. And again, I would get told. From that 3 dots, it's not appearing in here because I've not got my webcam switched on, but if you do, there is another new feature of Teams which you may have seen, you might have had a play about with, where you can put a background on. Because if you're sat at home in your front room and you've got your children playing in the background, or you've got your cat running around, or whatever it is, you know, we've seen all sorts of things going on. I know on these Teams meetings when we first started out using it, you can put a background on, so it can look like you are sitting, you know, on the beach, or in a lovely flat somewhere, posh apartment. So it's really handy to have that switched on. So it gives you that option, and it also gives you the option to blur your background as well. So if you don't want to put a background on, but you just want to blur out you know, your messy cupboard that's sat behind you, then you can put that blur background on. Those are new features as well. Quite new to this, only been around about a month, so you can use those from the 3 dots. And just in there as well, it gives you the option to switch on meeting notes. So this is where if you wanted to start doing notes, I can switch those on. And you can see over on the right hand side, they've now appeared, and I can take notes from there. So a little bit like a OneNote notepad. Again, if you've used Microsoft OneNote, you can just put in there. So I could just put minutes, meeting, just put 6:20, and then just put in your actions or your notes, whatever you want to put in there. Action, Dave, create timesheet, whatever in there. And other people can add to those notes. So if we wanted to, or if he wanted to, Dave could add in actions as well. So anybody can be open up that and can add in notes to the meeting minutes as they are being created. So that's from the three dots. We've got a raise hand. Again, that's fairly new to Microsoft Teams. Somebody can raise their hand. So as we've got in this situation where you're all muted, it may be the same if you've got a lot of people on a call. You might want to raise hands if somebody wishes to speak, and then they can be unmuted so that they can actually speak. One other new feature in Teams is originally, well, not that long ago, if somebody did have their webcam switched on, you could only see 4 people at a time on the screen. So it would just show 4 people's webcams, and only the people that were speaking would be in display. So you might have 20 people on your call, but you could only see 4 at any one time. They've now actually increased that to 9. So you can show 9 people's webcams on the screen at any one time. Just trying to think whether I've told you about all the newish things that we've got. Oh yes, so recording one-to-one calls I've already talked about, because you didn't used to be able to record one-to-one calls, only one to several people calls. And these calls that we're making now, videoing, recording it, screen sharing, you can now have up to a maximum of 20,000 people in a call. That's massive. That's been reduced, that has been increased again just of late because of the current situation. Microsoft might choose to reduce that again later, but it's currently 20,000 people in a call. Won't want to be trying to manage a call with that many people in. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to, so these buttons here would just, if there was a conversation going on at the same time in the meeting, you might want to be having a little bit of a chat in the meeting as well. You might want to be adding in websites that people need to refer to. You could be putting a link in there so that everybody can see it. If I just put in there bbc.co.uk and post that in just so you can see where that's going, and then also in here show participants. If you need to see who's actually in the meeting, you can select the show participants button. So those are all your buttons in there. I'm now just going to hang up on this conversation just so that we can see what it looks like when it's posted into the channel, and if it will stay there at the moment running because Dave is still in that meeting. So we can see that the recording is still going with just Dave in the meeting. I could join back again now if I needed to. I might just have dropped out for some reason. But as soon as he ends the meeting will then close, as we can see there. And the recording has now stopped, and it's now automatically saving that recording to Microsoft Stream. So it saves it to Microsoft Stream, which is one of Microsoft's Office 365 applications, and we will be able to access it here once it has saved that recording properly. It'll just take it a few minutes to do that. It tells us how long that meeting was running for. It also indicates on the screen who was in the meeting, so the little icons there show you who was actually in that meeting. So say, for example, if Wendy comes into work a bit later on today, she might now scroll through this team channel and see, oh right, they had a meeting earlier when I wasn't here. I'll go and have a look at that and see what went on. And also notice that the notes have been attached in as well. So the meeting notes are available to view from there, but they've also been attached in up here to the top of the screen in meeting notes. So it's created itself a new tab, with meeting notes in there. And if I click on meeting notes, it takes us in there and lets us see those. So everybody is able to see those meeting notes. Come back to posts again. Okay, so that's again the visibility. Everybody can see the meeting took place, everybody can listen to the recording, everybody can see the meeting minutes. So just again looking at a quick question there. So Judy, Judy's asked a question: are you able to copy and paste a template into your notes page? For example, an interview score sheet, an interview question template. So you can copy and paste anything because it's just like a notes page. So you could just, as long as you've got that information stored somewhere, copy it and then paste it into that notes page. So yes, you can do that. Okay, let's just have a look at files now within here. So we jumped over this icon here before where you can attach a file into Teams. So you can do it from there, but you can also do it from the Files tab. So I'm going to go to the Files tab. So any relevant files relevant to this particular channel, you would put into this files area. So then everybody is able to access them. You post them into here. Anybody that is a member of the Digital Leadership Logistics channel would be able to access them. So if you've made this private, it's only going to be available to people that are members of that private channel. So we can see there's nothing in here at the moment. We could drag a file in if we've got Explorer open and the file is already in on display, or we could just choose to upload. So if I choose to upload, I can upload a whole folder of files, but I'm just going to choose to upload one file. So it lets me pick a file that I want to upload. Put that one in. So it uploads the file into this particular channel, as you can see, and it has the little three lines to the side to show that that is a new one that has just been uploaded. So anybody can upload files into here, other people can upload them that are a member of this channel. Once that has been uploaded into here, what we could now do is go to that particular file and open it up. So by clicking on the link for the file name, I can open it up within Teams and it's now on display. Inside here now, everybody else could open the file up as well. So we could actually be on a call at this point and we might all be discussing this particular file and decide that we all need to share it and work on it together at the same time. So we could have Dave in here as well. We could have Wendy inside this file as well, and we could all be working on it together. Notice that it has now just shown that Dave is actually in. That's what it will give me a little indication there to show that he's editing cell G4. So he is currently in this file and he could be making changes to this file and all those changes are automatically being updated. You can see here that they're being updated as he makes the changes. So we could both be working in this file at the same time, making any relevant changes that we need to do. The editing option up there at the top, you can show that it is saying editing, so make any changes is available. You also have the option to just view the file but make no changes as well. And we also do have the option to open this in the desktop app. So this is a Microsoft Excel file. We're currently working in the Excel online version. If you want full Excel functionality, then you could open it in the desktop app of Excel if you have that application. Whilst we're working in this file, we might open up a conversation over here at the top right. We might open up a conversation. We might just be having a bit of a chat. So if we weren't on a call, we might just want to have a quick instant messaging conversation about this file. Can you update the invoice number? You can use that mention in here as well. So we could mention Dave and say, ask him to do something so that he knows particularly that that's okay for him to do. So yeah, so that's it. So we can work in this file together, collaborating together inside files. Once we've done, we can choose to close the file down. So that was a Microsoft Excel file, but we can use Word files, we can open up PowerPoint files, we can work in any of those type of files together at the same time. So benefits of that document collaboration there. You're working on maybe a proposal, several people in a team or working on a particular proposal. You'd normally have to email that file out to everybody to review it. You might use track changes, that kind of idea. But now, and you might have several different versions of that file going around. So now within Teams, you can put the document into a central location. Everyone can review it, can edit it, can see the changes that are happening in real time. You can can all chat about the document if you want to in chat. You could jump on a Meet Now call to discuss it, and that can be recorded if you wish, so that other people can hear why you made those decisions about the changes that you made to the proposal if they're not available at this moment in time. Someone new joins the team, they can review that chat that you've had, they can review the recording, and version control is also done within Teams. So you can go back to a previous version if you need to of a file if somebody else has made a change to it. To the right hand side of that file, you've got the 3 dots. And inside there, you also have the option of making this a tab. So if this is a particularly important file that everybody in the team needs to access regularly, you can choose to make this a tab. And what that will do is, you see, is it will now put it up there at the top of the channel in one of the tabs, so it's accessible and easily accessible by everybody. Just coming back to files again, and the 3 dots, you also have an option in there now to pin to top. And again, if it's a useful, important file and you've got loads of files in here, you can pin it to the top, which just means it sits up there at the top of the Files tab. And you can always unpin it if you don't want it there anymore later. So that's working with files in Teams, or a bit of that. The Wiki tab, coming to the Wiki tab across the top, like we said before, this is just like OneNote. You can use this to keep any information for your particular team, policies, procedures, abbreviations, contact numbers, information that's constantly being updated and that all team members need to be able to refer to frequently. Anyone can edit the notes on the Wiki page, so you can just put anything into there that the team needs to see. And it can be, as I said, constantly moving, updating and adapting in time. So I'm not going to update that, but you get the idea. Okay, so starting to see our sort of Teams dashboard building now, our workspace for this particular project building. So we've now got some conversations, we've had some meetings that have been recorded, we've added some files in, we've got a wiki page, we've got some meeting minutes, we've put a particular file that we think is useful up at the top. Just have a quick look now at the plus sign here at additional items that you can add in. So if I just add a tab again there, and see what else you can add into our pages. You can add a website that you think is useful. So we could choose to add a website. If there's a particular website that we need to be able to refer to, I'm just going to put in the gov.uk one in there. So I've already got that selected. The URL, you will just need the URL. It has to be a HTTPS secure site, so it needs the S there, and then just save it, and that will put it at the top as another tab that people can quickly refer to. If I click on the plus sign again, just see some of the other apps that are available to you, or your standard Microsoft apps are available there at the top, one of which is Planner. Planner is Microsoft Office 365's version of a planning type application. It's nothing like Microsoft Project, which is much more sophisticated. This is just a very simple planning type app, but it is really handy if you just want to do a little bit of task management. So if I go into Planner, just to show you a little quick review of this, we can create a new plan. We might just call this digital. That's just using the same sort of naming. We can save it there, and it will now create us a tab called digital, which we can now start adding tasks into. So if we just needed to allocate some tasks out to people into here, I'm just going to put into here, enter a task name, I don't know, names listing. We can set a due date for that task. Let's say it needs doing by Friday. We can assign that task to Dave. We could assign it to Wendy as well, but we'll just assign it to Dave and add the task. And that's now added into our to-do list area of tasks. We could then carry on adding in more tasks. Or I'll go with book venue, given that it seems to want me to do that one. Set the due date, again, just do it next week. Assign the task, this one will go to Wendy. You can assign tasks to yourself as well, and that is now add that task in, and it's now been another task that's assigned there. And those people that have had those tasks assigned to them can go and update those tasks to say that they've started them. So if we go back and have a look at one of these tasks in more detail, by clicking on its name, you can see more information, like a card for that particular task. So we could choose to say it is now in progress. We can change its priority. We can say what date did we actually start it. We started it today, and we can add in more information, checklists, add attachments to tasks, lots of different things you can do there with your tasks. Again, there's loads more within Planner, but that's just to give you a quick look at it, at how you could use it maybe within a team, just to keep people on track. And as I said to you earlier with this, the good thing about it is because it's visible to everybody, other people can review other people's tasks and say, all right, Wendy might need a bit of help on that one. I can help her out because I'm not as busy. I'll take that task off her, and it can be reassigned to different people. That's Planner. The other one with the plus I'm just going to show you is the Power BI. Now this is something that you might not have ever used or heard of even before. It's fairly new to Office 365. It's a sort of business analytics service that is provided, gives you an interactive dashboard. If you've ever used anything like Excel Power View, it's that same kind of idea. So it's used to visualize large sets of data using charts so that you can see where the trends lie, where the issues might be. If I just pick one that we have already got created, you obviously need to have used Power BI to get this set up and running, but I'm just going to bring in one that we've already got in here so we can just see it. And I'll just show you what the dashboard looks like. Power BI licenses are separate to your normal Office 3 subscription. So everybody has to actually have a Power BI license to be able to view this. Even if you've added it into a Teams channel that they're a member of, they wouldn't be able to view it unless they had a Power BI license. So it's a separate entity really of its own. But you can see there the idea of it. As I say, it's just graphical illustrations of data that was in, could have been in an Excel spreadsheet. So we can see graphs to show, amount paid by customer, amount paid by employee, just different graphing, different views of different information. We can click on, if we just want to see the Southend information, we can just click on Southend there, and it now just shows that in all the other graphs as well that relate to Southend. If we just want to look at one of these particular customers' names, we can just click on one of the customers, and again, it changes all the graphs relevant to what you have filtered on. So really powerful tool, Power BI, that you might want to know more about. And if you do, then again, we do offer training in Power BI. So that's something that you could ask get some more information on, and we'll quite happily give you that information. Okay, so we've now added that into our channel as well. Okay, right, so that's enough on sort of teams and channels. Just I'm looking at aware of the time and don't want to run over too much on this. So just want to quickly give you quickly the other things that we can do used from the left hand side of the screen. So coming now back to activity to show you now that we've got a bit of activity going on in our teams, you can see what that looks like. So it just shows you where people have replied to your questions, have reacted to your posts, where you've been added into channels, and where you've been mentioned. So they would all just be listed in your feed. The drop down arrow on there also shows you your activity. So you can just have a look at things that you've been doing in there when you posted and you replied. So you can toggle between the two there, feed or your activity. Chat is where you'll have your one-to-one conversations. So you might have been using this already within Teams just to have quick conversations with people. It's your instant messaging side of Teams. So you can see in here, I've got a few just chat conversations that have gone on. Doesn't lose them at the end of the day. They're always there. So you can always refer back to what you had that conversation with somebody on a previous day. You can refer back to it and you can just keep having further conversations. All the same options available in here, in that you can like messages, you can reply just using the bottom, type a new message. To start a new conversation with somebody, if they're not already in your list of recents, you would just go to the top and you would just start typing in the name of the person that you want to converse with. I can't do that because I've already got those, but you could search for a new person and then just start a new chat conversation with them. You can also, if I go to the new chat button, choose the new chat button, and if I wanted, I could add in a couple of people here. So if I add in Wendy and Dave, that's now a group conversation, and I could just start that one off in there as a new group conversation, which will go to both of them. And from within here now, if we were conversing, three of us chatting away together, we might want to do a call. So at the top right hand corner there, you have the option to start an audio call off. So we could just say, let's just chat. It will be easier to just do it over the phone. Let's just chat, click on your audio call, and it will just start connecting. And if they were to select that call and answer it, you wouldn't, just mute so it doesn't interfere. You now go into a chat between the three of you, just an offline chat that you three just needed without everybody else in the team being able to see it was going on. You just want to have a quick chat, and you can do that from here, but you have all those same options that we saw before. So you can share screen, you can record the call, you can raise that. All those same options are available to you in this quick conversation there. Hang up on that one. Three dots on that one if you want to leave. So if it's, you know, these group chats that go on and on, you might want to actually leave it at some point. So that's your quick chats there. Dropping down just onto calendar, I want to show you this one, because what we've done already is I've shown you the ad hoc meetings. Calendar here will allow you to schedule a Teams meeting in advance. So if you know that you want to have a meeting on Thursday afternoon at a certain time, then this is what you would need to use. So we would go into calendar. You can do this from your Outlook email account as well. So you can go into calendar in Outlook emails and you can choose to create a new team meeting, and it will just let you set it up like any other meeting, but it would add in all the Teams meeting links that you need. So if I just want to do this for Thursday afternoon, I'm just going to go to my calendar on Thursday, double click, and I'll just give it a title, update meeting. I can add in required attendees if I want to, but it's not necessary if you add in a channel, because it would automatically display in the channel anyway. But if I want, I can add in people's names in here. I can put in the date, times for my meeting. If it's a repeat, all your normal things are available to you there. I could go to scheduling assistant as well if I want to, and I can check that they are available at that time, just like you can with any other Outlook meeting, any other meeting you schedule. If I send that, they will be sent an invite to that meeting. They can choose whether to accept it or not into their calendars, so that they then can see that that is taking place. And they also would get the link to join the meeting at the time of 4 o'clock tomorrow. So I could send it over to them, and it now goes into my calendar. And if I just open that up to show you, inside there now, you've got the Join Microsoft Teams meeting link, which everybody would have. Okay, so just going to finish off. Calls, if you have got calls, calling capability, you can use calls and you're able to make a call from there. My account, this test account, doesn't have calling capability, so I can't do it, but you'd have a little keypad here to do that. And files would just list up all the files that you have available to you in Teams, from regardless of which channel they are in. So coming back to Teams, and I'm just going to answer one quick question that I've just seen there from Kirsten. So Kirsten's just asked, where do we find saved messages? So I'm going to show you that one now, because I was just going to show you searching. So from the bar at the very top there, if I click in the search bar at the top and do a /, it will come up with all sorts of different quick shortcuts that you can use in here. So the slash key will allow you to search, or give you lots and lots of options, but one of them is saved. And if I select saved, that will show you where all your saved messages from conversations are. So they're all listed here down this left-hand side now. And if you just want to quickly jump to any of those, then you can do, and that would take you back to your saved messages. The other way of doing it is to go to your profile picture at the top right-hand corner, and you can also choose saved from there. It will do it from there as well, exactly the same thing. From the search box at the top as well, if you knew that somebody had been talking earlier or a few days ago, a few weeks ago about a particular word, then you can do a search for that word in the box at the top. So if I know I want to search for the word plan, and I'm just going to search for the word plan, it will look through all my teams and channels to find the word plan, and it will bring them all out here on the left hand side, and I can now, oh, it was, you know, that one that I wanted to go back to. By clicking on it, it will take me back to where that is in whichever team and channel that was held in. So it's a quick, you can just do quick searches from that bar at the top. The other thing you can do in there is you can put in slash mentions, which is another one, wherever you want to see where you've been mentioned. If there's a particular thing you need to get back to, you can put in mentions and it will take you back to there. And again, you can just click to show that in the full screen. So your searching capability from up at the top of the screen. Okay, so just I've pretty much whizzed through everything, I think, quite quickly there at the end, but I'm just going to now give us a chance to just review some of the questions before we finish on what we've gone through and what people have been asking as I've gone along. So just going to look, we've got a question from Judy that's saying, is there an opportunity for external people to go into a virtual holding room to be let in by the organiser? Teams isn't yet quite as efficient as that. I know that that is something that you can do in other applications, but at the moment, no, everybody gets invited in. Let me just do a quick check though that there is nothing changed. No, you haven't got any options in there. So you don't have any meeting options where you would normally set that kind of thing up. If it is an external person, though, that is trying to join your meeting, you will find that it will come up on the screen and say, John Smith is waiting in the lobby, and in that case, you have to admit them in. But if it's somebody that's part of the channel that you have arranged the meeting in, they will automatically get directed in. They'll just be able to join automatically. But usually if it's an external person, for example, if you have dialed somebody in, if you've got external calling, you can dial somebody's mobile in, and in that case they would then need to be invited. You'd have to accept them in from the lobby. Ben has asked, how do you link your Outlook account calendar to Teams if you don't have 365? That might be something that you would have to ask your own IT department, I would say, if it isn't linking at the moment. If you don't have 365, okay, and you've got an E1 license, I would say, yeah, that's not something that I would be able to answer as to how yours is set up. So I think you would need to speak to your own people about that. How do you link emails into Teams, into channels which may be relevant? So one thing that you can do with your Teams, if I just come back to Teams here on the screen, is go into the three dots. In fact, it's within the channels rather than within the team. From the three dots, you do get an email address there that will allow you to pull up what the email address is of this particular channel, and that, as you can see there, gives you the actual email address. So that's one thing that people might want to do, is to email the channel, and they can do that. They can send an email to that email address. So you could copy it and you could paste it into an email, and then put that into the channel so it's available for everybody to view. The linking emails into channels, I know that can happen, I'm pretty sure. but rather than me just searching for exactly where we're going to do that, Ben, I'm going to make a note of that, and I'm going to make sure that that comes out to everybody when we send out the other information, because I'm sure you can do that, but I just need to check where it is, where you do it. Let me look at what else have we got. I've done that one, done that one. So Neville, you've asked about, or your organisation uses Citrix platform, within which Teams is used, I'm presuming you mean. Does this restrict ability to share or work with parties outside the organisation? It could do. As I said, the being able to work with guests is very much an organisation decision. So the organisation and the IT people and the administrators behind your Teams Office 365 system will decide whether you can collaborate with people outside the organisation or not. So that would be something that you would need to take up with them, I would say, and whether they are going to allow that or not. And Gillian, right at the very beginning of the session, you asked about using breakout room facilities for when you're training. So Teams, again, I feel like there is a facility for breakout rooms in Teams, but I'm thinking that it's not in here because I haven't got the capability. I again think that that is something that is no, I think that was Zoom. Zoom is the one that you can use it in. Teams doesn't have that capability yet. It doesn't have breakout rooms. It has got whiteboards, but it doesn't have breakout rooms. So you wouldn't be able to do that yet. But again, because this obviously Teams is having to compete with Zoom, so anything that Zoom is doing, Teams are trying to catch up with, or if they might already have. So it's something that I would say, watch this space, maybe ask for it again on the Microsoft website and see if they can get it, if they're going to get it. It might be worth doing a check on it. Okay, so I think that's pretty much answered the questions that we've got on there. So Marcia, just a question, can you play YouTube video with volume? You should be able to listen to them. It should give you the volume. It might just be that if you're on another call at the moment, you can't, but you should be able to hear the volume as well. You should be able to hear the sound. It records everything that's in the meeting. So just because I want to just finish off the session, and I know some of you may need to leave, I can come back and finish off questions if other people need to leave, but just coming back to the PowerPoint presentation that we started out with, and just to go over the last thing. So just to say to all of you that have joined, thank you very much for joining the session. I do hope that you have found it useful and that you have learned things about Teams that you didn't already know about. You can, if you wish, register for the next webinar, which is Managing Remote Teams During the COVID-19 Outbreak and Beyond. That's on the 9th of June, and the link to register for that session is on the screen there. As I say, we do offer lots of other training sessions as well on other applications, Power BI. If you want to know more about Microsoft Teams itself or in more depth, then we do offer training sessions on all of those things. So please just ask if that is a requirement of yours. You will be sent out a survey, as I said at the beginning. If you could complete that, would be really handy. But otherwise, if you need to go just for the time there, then please leave the session. Thanks very much, all of you, for joining. And I'll just see if I can answer any of these other questions that you've asked about. So Marcia, yeah, you can use channels as breakout rooms. You can use a channel as a breakout room if you make it into private. You could have that as a separate area that people need to work in. But I think that the question was more about if you were running like a sort of training session and you maybe want to put people into their own little group and let them have a chat conversation. I suppose, yeah, you could still use channels for that. Can anyone bomb a meeting? How secure are the meetings? So Judy, it's as secure as all our online applications. You know, it is it's one of those. I'm not going to say, oh, it is absolutely watertight, but it is as secure as any other online applications that we use. All right, okay. So right, so we'll have a look at that because Rachel is just saying that she was on a Teams hosting workshops event yesterday and she showed us breakout rooms. So the thing with this is sometimes you find that they roll out updates to the system and you don't get them straight away. So they're not always pushed out to everybody. They roll them out on a sort of account by account basis, and it also sometimes can be limited by your organization as well. So it may just be that the moment that's not come out to my account here, it may be that it is going out, it's a new-ish feature and it is going out to other people. So it's kind of a watch this space kind of thing, I would say, with that. Okay, and I think that's all the questions I've answered. So if there's no more questions and if you are all happy, then thank you very much, as I say, for joining the session, and I hope you found it useful, and good luck with your future use of Microsoft Teams. So thanks, everyone.